everybody to the regular business meeting of East Maine School District 63. And at this time, can I ask everybody to please, I'm sorry, we first need to do a call to order. Okay, or a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Okay, thank you. And at this stage of the meeting, we would recognize any audience or public comment. We have none. Okay, thank you. All right, then we'll move along to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Booth?
Yes.
Ms. Urban?
Yes.
Mr. Simmons?
Yes.
Ms. Kaczkowski?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion passes. At this point, it's the president's report. Our president, Ms. Brooke, is not available tonight, so I'm filling in for her. And as we meet here tonight, the Niles Maine District Library Board is holding the third of 3 budget workshops in advance of developing a new budget. We recently learned that the board president and treasurer have proposed eliminating all outreach into local schools. And it should go without saying that we do not believe such an action will benefit either the library or the schools. And I'd like to share the letter the board plans to send to the library board tomorrow if, after its meeting tonight, this proposal is still under consideration. To the Niles Maine District Library Board of Trustees, recently we became aware that the library's board president and treasurer proposed eliminating all outreach programming in local schools. This is of some concern. As a district serving more than 3,500 pre-K to 8th grade students, most of whom live in the library service area, and 55% of whom are low income, our schools and families rely on the valuable outreach services the library provides. For many years, the library has been one of our strongest community partners. While each of our schools does have a small library, the Niles Maine Library's excellent Youth Services Department effectively leverages our literacy education with online services, bringing deeper and more extensive resources to the table than we have at our disposal. And it matters that these professional librarians come into our schools. Transporting our students to the library during a school day would be costly in terms of time, resources, and taxpayer dollars. Simply busing our entire student population once to and from the library would cost approximately $6,500 and would result in the loss of state-mandated instructional time, which is extremely regimented and precise. The same services have been provided much more efficiently for many years by youth services staff visiting each school. School-library partnerships are common, enriching both institutions and positively impacting youth. Eliminating this critical outreach program would negatively impact thousands of students and their families in District 63 alone. As elected officials ourselves, we are keenly aware that we have an obligation to serve the best interests of our students, families, and the community. And one of the best ways to invest in this community is to ensure that its youngest residents have the resources they need to learn, grow, and become contributing members of society. We strongly advise the board to maintain its outreach services into schools. Thank you, and this is on behalf of the School Board of District 63. Thank you. That's all I have. I would open it up to other board members.
I just want to share some information about the North Cook Division meetings that will be coming up. We met to make plans for those meetings, and they will be in person. We figured since our kids have to be in school, we should be meeting in person. The fall meeting will be scheduled for either September 22nd or October 20th. And right now, the speaker that we're hoping to get is Superintendent Courtney Orzels. She is talking, she would be talking on returning to your why. Your why being, why did you become a board member in the first place? The spring meeting is tentatively scheduled for April 20th. And in spring of 2020, we were going to have a speaker on finance. But because the pandemic hit, that meeting was canceled. So basically, we would be rescheduling that meeting for April 20th. And a lot has happened, obviously, in terms of finances, so it would be a different talk than was planned for March of 2020. The speaker is Ralph Martire. He's a very good speaker. And that's all I have.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, then we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
All right,
Dr.
thank
Quinn.
you. First of all, I've got a certificate here from the Illinois Association of School Boards showing appreciation to Janet Kaczkowski for her 2 years of service as the Director at Large of the North Cook Division during the 2019-2021 term. So Janet, we want to thank you for representing us so well in North Cook. I'll give you the certificate before we leave today.
Thank you.
Board members, you're receiving the book We Got This by Cornelius Minor. It should be at your seat. Cornelius Minor is our speaker for opening day in August. You're all invited, of course. All of our staff members have gotten a copy of the book as well. We're excited to hear what he has to say when he gets here. So we can officially put the 2020-21 school year behind us. It was certainly an unusual year, to say the least, but the staff of District 63 made it a success. I believe we all should feel good about what we accomplished. And then, of course, we're off and running already, planning for next year, so the summer we'll be busy doing all of that and providing services for our kids who are going to attend summer school, ESY, RSK, et cetera, et cetera. And that's all I have.
All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item, student performance and a summary of 2021. And Mr. Robertson.
All right, good evening. I'm here to kind of present the end of year data for attendance and work completion. You should have access to this in board docs. The far right column is the attendance measures that we have by grade level throughout the district. As you can see, our district average ended at around 93%. This is pretty common historically with what attendance looks like as we get closer to summer break. It historically goes down just a little bit. And you'll see here, back in September, we were at about 97%, and we ended the school year at about 93%. So just about a 4% difference as we head on into summer here. Also at the bottom, you should be able to have access to specific attendance data by school and grade level throughout the district. The next page has our work completion data for the entire school year. If you remember, students received this year a UA grade on their report card if the teacher was unable to assess them for not completing work or not being present for various assessments. So you'll see here in trimester 3, if you look all the way to the right, we averaged about 93% for the third trimester. This is a similar kind of trajectory that we saw with attendance, but it was only about a 3% difference from our high in trimester 1. So not too much of a variation district-wide. And then I will let Mrs. Pacheco go next.
So our social workers and principals continue to connect with families through various reach out activities throughout the month of May, as well as prepared our students for another transition in an already kind of difficult year as we get ready for summer. We did see a decrease in our overall referrals to both our social workers and administrators this month. We had 46 referrals to our school social workers or psychologists for additional follow-up support for engagement, with 8 of those referrals resulting in a referral to a problem-solving team based in the school. We also saw 9 referrals to building administrators, with 8 of those resulting in problem-solving referrals to the building, and 11 referrals to our community agencies for additional support. Some of those referrals were to expanded learning to set up summer programming for students who may have needed some options. We did have some requests for bereavement counseling, housing and rent support, as well as setting up services and supports over the summer with our families through Niles Family Services. We do continue, as I mentioned last month, to support our families over the summer. We have 4 of our social workers who will be assisting in making contacts with families that we've identified for additional follow-up support throughout the summer. And we will have Yesenia Nunez, who is our social worker at Niles Family Services, working directly with students and families through her work at the Family Resource Center this summer as well. We will have our request for assistance up on the website early next week, so families who may run into different crises or different situations where they need assistance throughout the summer can contact us, and we can try and work with them to get them support as needed. I also know that there was a question last month about how we compare to other districts. I found out that we were actually a little unique in how we approached the way we tracked our information. I wasn't actually able to get direct numbers for referrals due to engagement or to outside services. So I will continue to work on that, but I do know that was a question of where we compare. Are there any questions about the student performance report?
I just want to say I wasn't here at the meeting last month. I just want to say I'm so happy that we're going to continue this over the summer, and I'm not surprised that we're unique in this. I mean, I think we all agree social emotional is so important in terms of our students and their families, so thank you for continuing this. I think it's extremely important.
Yes, we're very excited to be able to continue to support our families as well. All right, thank you.
Thank you. We're moving on to
Yeah.
academic programming. Okay, next item up, and again, Mr. Roberson will be updating us.
I did just want to say quickly before I jump into this report, just 2 things. One, the book that you have at your table, if anyone is taking a break from reading this summer, or you're great at taxiing your kids around to different activities, this book comes in audiobook form. So I told the staff that as well. So that is the way that I read the book myself. So I recommend it. And then I did want to give you just a quick update on summer enrichment program registration. Before I came to the meeting, I checked again. We had 461 students that have signed up for the summer enrichment program. And actually, when we opened this up to staff, we initially thought that we would need 22 instructors to support this program. We ended up only being able to have 15. So that was about 7 less than we originally anticipated, which is about 28 less classes that we were able to offer. So what we ended up doing was kind of a contingency plan that I talked to you about when I presented it, was instead of students being able to sign up for all 4 weeks, they either signed up for the first 2 weeks or the second. We just wanted to make sure that everyone, to the greatest extent possible, could participate in some way. So I hopefully look to come back in a future board meeting and tell you how all of this went. We're excited about it. Okay, on to the semi-annual update on curricular programs. You will see in here that I color-coded some different pieces in blue. Those are things that, as we look forward to next year and the future, things we're working on in these different areas. So starting with STEAM at the elementary level, Dive-In Engineering continues to be our core resource for science instruction. It's rooted in the next generation science standards, so there's a strong STEAM component. This past school year, Science instruction at the elementary level was asynchronous in the afternoon while students went home. So we are looking for the upcoming school year for this. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped to STEM scopes. My apologies. Let me go back to dive in engineering. I jumped to the bottom square. Dive in engineering is our core resource for STEAM instruction for 6th and 7th grade. And if you recall, STEAM went by the wayside just a little bit as a class for all students because of the way the schedule kind of shook out due to COVID-19 restrictions and adjustments. So next year, we are planning to go right back to all students having STEAM experiences at Gemini every other day. So Dive-In will continue to be used for our 6th and 7th grade students. Fuse is our resource for 8th grade students at Gemini. So that is the inquiry-based STEAM approach developed by Northwestern University. This past year, Fuse was used as kind of an elective class throughout the year, and I gave you the numbers there of how many students participated, but this will resume to being the core resource for all 8th grade students to experience next year. All right, so the part that I jumped to, I'll go right back to science. At the elementary level, STEM Scopes is our core resource. Like I said before, students participated in science activities asynchronously this school year. Obviously, we had to take STEM Scopes and adjust it to make that work, but we anticipate going right back to synchronous instruction next year, and we will continue using STEM Scopes as that core resource. iQuest is the resource over at Gemini. Not much change this year because students got the opportunity to do that through synchronous instruction, and that will continue to be our science resource at Gemini going forward. Moving to social studies, there are a few shifts that are coming that look positive. Just to let you know, at the elementary level, social studies instruction, like science, was asynchronous in the afternoons. Some adjustments were made to make that work. At Gemini, students did have synchronous social studies instruction, and our inquiry units were used to the greatest extent possible due to the remote and COVID restrictions. Our K-8 social studies cohort will be meeting next week to evaluate 2 core resources. So we have one from Inquire Ed and one from Newsella Social Studies. They are inquiry-based social studies units designed with the Illinois science standards in mind. I don't know if you recall when we initially talked about this in the past, there have not been resources that were designed with the new Illinois social studies standards for quite a while. It usually takes various companies a few years to catch up to those standards. So the cohort next week will be looking at these, and we will be looking to trial some of these inquiry-based units next year. Now, a caveat to all of this, because this is usually how it goes, is the Illinois social science standards are slated to be revised and implemented brand new, not next year, but the year after. So we will be keeping all of that in mind as we look at these possible resources to support social studies instruction. It looks like, from what I can tell, they released what they intend to do with the standards, and it looks like it's not a huge shift in social studies. It looks like there's a lot more focus on civics than we've seen previously in those standards. But right now it's up for public comment throughout the state. Moving down to literacy, units of study and reading. This was our 2nd year to support reading workshop, K-8. And then units of study and writing. This was our 1st year of full implementation for writing workshop, where the core resources, both at the elementary and middle school levels. Other than trying to fit this into remote learning, students largely got the intended experiences out of these resources. We are continuing with our professional development focus. Many of our teachers will participate in our Summer Writing Institute this August. This is being facilitated by Columbia University's Reading and Writing Project. And then, of course, we have ongoing professional development to support literacy throughout the year. Last summer, our teachers participated in a reading institute. This year, the focus is on writing. And then, if you look over in the word study section, so originally this school year, we were supposed to be working hard on reviewing our word study practices, possibly piloting some resources that would support up-to-date evidence-based practices that all got paused this year. So literally tomorrow, I will be meeting with the literacy leadership team all day, and we will jump right back on this word study bandwagon. So we're excited to see where we go with all of that. Moving down to some elementary initiatives, full day kindergarten. I think this is the one I've talked to you about in the past, that we got halfway through the year. We had worked for years on this model and we had to pause a lot of it. So our teachers are excited to get back to our inquiry-based structures, intentional play, all those fun things back in kindergarten for next year. And we are pulling together almost all of our kindergarten teachers in August for the Kindergarten Summer Institute, so that we keep moving forward with those best practices for kindergarten students. Reading recovery, if you remember, was our core intervention for students at the elementary level, specifically in first grade. Even with changing learning environments this past year, those interventions continued this school year. And I have to give kudos to our interventionists and our literacy specialists. I was able to be a part of some of those remote intervention sessions over Google Meet, and it's incredible what they were able to do with students while they were in different places. Reading recovery, a subset of that is called literacy lessons. It's really the same approach to intervention, but this is where our special education resource and our English learner resource teachers are able to use that same model with students that are on their caseloads. It has a strong professional development component, which is why this is such a valid intervention. This professional learning continued this whole year. This is our second cohort this year, and then we selected our upcoming cohort for next year, which will continue and kick off in August. And this is exciting as well. In addition to our invitation-only summer school programs, our enrichment programs, we also have a good number of our teachers that are trained in reading recovery who will be coming in to support students based on need with daily one-to-one and small group support throughout the month of July as well. So we are able to support 47 of our elementary students that qualified to participate in that. So we're excited to offer that as an additional component this summer. At the middle school level, Open Up continues to be the core resource for math instruction. Students got the intended instruction remotely or in person this past school year, and we will continue to use this resource for the upcoming year. And if you recall, electives at the middle school level required an adjustment where students weren't really able to choose their electives due to students staying in their classrooms at school and teachers rotating. So we are intending, unless something crazy changes, that students will get to choose their electives this school year and travel within the building to go to those different classes that are of interest to them. I believe that is the end of the report. Any questions that I can answer or clarify for you?
Did we have a good response for some of the invitation-only programming and encouraging some of our families to come to some of the programming that we're doing? Do you feel that we got a good positive response from families?
So I can speak to the enrichment program, especially then maybe Ms. Sterling or Ms. Pacheco can talk about our ESL and our ESY. The number of kids that have registered exceeded what I was expecting for the enrichment program. We have 1 day left in registration. I anticipate that we'll go over 500, which is a pretty good number. That is about triple the amount of families that showed interest on the survey, which was nice to see. But I don't know if either one of you want to share how you felt about participation in your programs? Yeah, probably.
So Ready Set Kindergarten is our invitation-only program for our incoming kindergartners. They when we did send out the invitations, we did get a response that we were anticipating, which was families concerned about sending their children to school due to COVID. So we did have some families turn down the invitation. However, I was expecting that, so we did plan accordingly. So instead of having 2 dual language classrooms, we consolidated it to 1. At Nelson School, our dual language students will be attending over there. And Melzer School, we anticipated that school to maybe not have as many students, because in the past, typically, when we invite families, not everyone from Melzer takes on the invitation. And so this year, we consolidated Melzer and Washington due to the low interest at Melzer. So we did reach out to families that were even not necessarily at risk, but their registration had been approved and processed. And so we did try, especially when we started to get people turning us down. We started to reach out to more families. So we're happy with the classes that we have. We typically have 7 classrooms. This year we have 5. Okay. For ELL, we had an overwhelming amount of students register. I believe it was because everything is free this year. Typically, families that need to have transportation and materials, it's $50 per student, or if there's no transportation, it's just $15 per student. So since we waived fees, I believe that that did help, and we are offering remote and in person. So we have close to 400 English learners coming, or kids going into 1st through 8th grade. So we're really excited about what we're offering for them this year. Okay.
Thank you.
Our extended school year numbers are exactly to the student where they were last year. We had 64 last year and we have 64 this year. Based on the historical data I have access to, it looks like it's pretty on par, plus or minus a few students. Any students that maybe didn't qualify or meet the criteria for ESY, we actually did recommend the district enrichment programs to those parents and gave them as much information as we can, just so that they did have a way to stay engaged and a way to continue working on those skills.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Next on the agenda is the Family Resource Center, summary of the 2021 year and vision for 21-22. Ms. Schott will be reporting.
Good evening. So as we began the school year, we opened the doors with full-day remote learning supervision and childcare from 7:30 in the morning until 6 p.m. for those families that did need it. We've held 4 virtual workshops that were not very well attended in the fall, 2 in English and 2 in Spanish in partnership with Niles Family Services. We held a remote Catalyst program for leadership and equity and inclusion with middle school students offered in the fall, winter, and spring. We ran a successful We Care campaign over the winter break, which social workers assembled packages for district families in need. And our virtual goods drive donated 1,200 items to Niles Family Services, as well as about 4 full shopping carts full of food for the Maine Township Food Pantry. As we transitioned to hybrid school days, we provided the PM care, so we transported students from schools to the Family Resource Center and continued with expanded learning programming until 6 p.m. for those families who needed it. We also offered virtual and in-person workshops this spring. The virtual workshop was well attended, and it partnered with the Schuler Scholar program at Maine East High School, and we did a wellness night for paint and tea, which was in person, appropriately spaced, of course, in our gym, and we had about 6 people attend that. So it was nice to have people back in the building. Along with all of those things, the building has been used for professional development within the district, for substitute teacher training, and for remote learning students to have their standardized testing complete, as well as incoming students who needed an ELLs, an English screener. So as we move forward, and after taking consideration all of the ideas that came from the stakeholders meeting in March, we want to continue to and envision the growth of our family resource offerings by expanding the services we're able to provide this coming school year and increase our staff capacity, build upon our local partnerships with organizations and public, nonprofit, as well as for-profit. We are currently surveying our staff for ideas on what they would like to present, recognizing that they are one of our biggest resources. We are currently conducting a community needs assessment to better understand what our community needs. And as we move forward into the next school year, we will attend staff meetings at each school individually to ensure everyone knows what resources we can provide and increase our presence through new branding, a new logo, our new sign, and which will increase our visibility. So we want our resource center to be a strong pillar in this community for families and the community. Thank you. Any questions?
I just want to say everything sounds really good. You're really doing some great work in expanding the program. And I hope that you'll share with us the community needs assessment. I think that would be very interesting to hear about.
Yes, once we collect all the data, we will share.
Okay, yeah, but it sounds like you're doing great stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you also reaffirm, are we doing a full summer program this year?
Yes, we are
So
doing.
from when school ends till
Yes,
the beginning
10
of school?
weeks. Yes, starting
Outstanding.
next Monday and ending the Friday before school begins.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, next up is Mr. Berry with our operations report.
Good evening, everybody. The State Fire Marshal will be conducting inspections at Nelson, Gemini, and Twain on June 17th. Apparently, some fire departments were not able to conduct the state required inspections due to COVID this year. So the state is finishing those themselves, and those are the 3 buildings of ours that have not been done this year. At Gemini, IHC had the sinkhole filled in along the south fence. That was on the punch list, and the last thing we're waiting for is the sanitary sewer to be cleaned out. There's still no date from IHC on that. There's no change at the Early Learning Center. And on the agenda tonight, one item is the building rental procedures change. The change is that we're going to start requiring a fee for the use of the Gemini field by organizations outside of our district. That fee will be $160 per hour plus custodial fees. That's based off of what a typical high school, middle school would charge for a field and track setup. And we can always adjust it in the future if necessary. And then capital project update. Can Do Construction has provided the shop drawings for the door project and the lighting project to DLA, and we have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for 1 o'clock next Tuesday. And the last item on the agenda tonight in new business is the bid recommendation for the site work projects at Nelson, Twain, and Washington. We had 8 contractors pick up plans. We did receive 2 bids. We opened them on Tuesday. The lowest bid was from Martum Construction at $606,983. Our budgeted amount, estimate for this project was $740,000. So the numbers came in good. The second highest was HAP Builders, and they were at $689. So our numbers were real close, and they were under budget. All good things. DLA, WT Engineering, and we conducted a scope review at Martum. We feel comfortable with them. I've actually worked with one of their subsidiaries on a few small projects around here through the years. And Jason Green from WT's worked on several projects with them throughout his career, and we've always had positive results. So we're recommending approval for that. And that's my report.
Good, thank you so much. Okay, at this time, we have a need to go into closed session, so I'd ask for a motion to hold a closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Okay, we'll go into closed session. We'll be returning. have a motion to approve item 6.01, approving donations to the district as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Looks like we got a paper shredder to replace the one at Washington School. So we thank the resident who has donated this. Roll call, please. I'm sorry, actually, this is by voice. Okay. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion passes. I have a motion to approve item 6.02, approving administrator compensation contracts for the 21-22 school year in the aggregate sum of $2,867,264.02 for the individuals listed.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
And that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.03, equity, diversity, and inclusion consultant proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Clay, are you
Sure,
commenting
yeah,
on this?
I'll take this. As you know, we started our equity steering committee in January, which is the first time we met. We have an excellent group of people of all different positions around the district, all schools represented. And we've done some good work, but it wasn't long into our meetings that we realized that we really aren't qualified to lead this kind of effort. It's not something that any of us have done. It's not within our experience to try to educate people about race issues and other kinds of equity. So in our quest to partner with 207, which they've been very generous in offering us help that we do need with them, we connected with their consultant that they've been working with for the past, I think, 2 years. We also got an estimate from another consultant. The prices were similar. It is pricey, but we feel as a committee that it's worth the money. This is a topic that could easily become volatile, but I don't think I need to really explain too much about why it's so important, especially in a district of the kind of makeup that we have.
All right, any other questions or comments from the board?
I just want to say, anytime we can partner with a high school district, it's awesome. It benefits our kids and our community, so I think that's great.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.04, parent and community liaison positions?
Second.
This will be either Dr. Schleiser or Mr. Roberson.
Okay.
So just a quick summary, you'll see there's been a core group of people that have kind of been working on the development of these positions. Basically, when we opened the Family Resource Center, we took Ms. Schaub, our Director of Family Services, and took what was normally kind of a full-time job and expanded it. And I think as we've gone over the course of the last couple of years, we want to keep expanding the services that we can provide to our community and support our families with. And we looked at the need to have some parent and community liaisons to kind of lead some of that process. Something we also noticed over the course of the pandemic is our ability to support families can sometimes be limited within our positions. So this is also a position not only that would support parent programming and various things at the Family Resource Center, it would also provide some wraparound services to our families that need additional support beyond just what kind of benefits their students within school. So we looked at multiple job descriptions. There are a lot of different districts around us. One of the big models we looked at was Skokie District 68 on how they utilize this sort of position. And we are looking to implement this for the upcoming school year, hopefully with your approval. And then this would be actually funded out of our Title I grant, which is all about trying to close the achievement gap for students and support families in that way. There is a required part of the Title I grant that is all about parent education. Historically, we've supported that in our individual buildings with parent education nights or parent and family nights, but we would look to kind of streamline that to be like more of a systems approach to parent education throughout our district through these people focused on those sort of needs for our communities and our families.
Is there a reason that you want two people for this position? Is it based on what is it based on?
Yeah, so one of the big ones is if you look at the job description, it is strongly preferred that we have parent liaisons that speak different languages other than English. So obviously Spanish is a priority for us. And then we have a number of languages that we have a large amount of our families and students that speak those languages. So that was one of the reasons to have a variety of languages. We were also looking at the load of providing wraparound services for families and also parent education. And we felt as a group that we would be able to attack those needs with two people more than just one. So that's the recommendation that we did. We also, when we talked to District 68, for example, they just talked about just having one person doing it for an entire district is limiting at times, and they can't basically fulfill all the needs that they want to. So when we looked at this, we just felt two would be something that would be more beneficial to our district if we really wanted to make a dent in supporting families and students. So.
And pending board approval of this, are there people that you have in mind that you would encourage to apply for it?
And possibly Dr. Schleiser might have a better answer to this. I have not in my current role. I don't have anyone in mind yet. This is, if you look at the job description, it's not necessarily an educator that could fill this role. So I think we were hoping opening it up outside might give us some different candidates we're not used to seeing in our schools.
I was just wondering, because of the language, like if if somebody knows parents that might be good for this or something like that. I was just wondering, so.
Yeah, I think I can speak for Dr. Clay and Dr. Schleiser. We're open to whoever will be best for this sort of role. You know, there's obviously a benefit to having someone that understands the community. So I think that's definitely an option, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Did you call me? That's all right. Yes. And that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.05, the MOA for EMEA performance evaluations under the 3-year contract extension for 2021 and 2022.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Dr. Schleiser? Okay.
So interestingly, we needed this MOU basically to balance out evaluations that we normally would have done this year, moving them to next year, and without getting into the cycles right now, that was the purpose. However, on May 30th, the state, the legislature passed House Bill 18, which allows for tenured teachers to be formally evaluated every 3 years instead of every 2 years. So that's going to change what we do with this MOU. but the governor hasn't signed it yet. I anticipate that he will, so you may see something different in July. So much for being proactive, right? Okay.
Any questions or comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
and that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.06, the MOA for EMTAA four-year contract extension for school years 2021 to 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Schleiser, are you speaking on this?
I can talk about this.
Okay, Dr. Klee. All right.
Yeah, the teacher assistants accepted the proposal from the board as discussed last month, and so they're appreciative of what's been offered to them.
Fantastic. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes. Yes.
and that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.07, unpaid leave of absent requests?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
and that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.08, to renew property casualty liability and fiduciary liability insurance through the Collective Liability Insurance Cooperative, otherwise known as CLIC.
So moved.
Second.
Good evening. So this is our property casualty liability insurance. We, as you know, are part of a cooperative that's called CLIC, which insures over 180 school districts in Illinois. The annual premium is $239,599. It represents a 14% increase over last year's. Having said this, when you think about what we have done over the past couple of years in terms of insurable property, we've added $50 million in insurable property between Gemini and the Early Learning Center. The other driver that's causing the increase is our cyber security liability, which is part of this, due to recent events with, for example, the Columbia pipeline hack. It has become almost impossible to find an insurer that offers this type of insurance, so our premium went up a little bit in that category. All in all, our performance has been very strong. We only have about 11% of the money we have paid in premiums, only about 11% in claims, which is an outstanding performance. So we're doing everything right on our end, so it's just a little bit of an increase.
Okay, any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
and that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.09, to renew the Collective Liability Insurance Cooperative CLIC Workers' Compensation Insurance?
So moved.
Second.
So this is actually a reduction in our premium, which more than offsets the increase in the prior insurance. We're getting a reduction of $64,000 for an annual premium of $162,000. We were expecting these. Obviously, we had a lot less people in our buildings this past year, which obviously reduced and almost drove to zero any sort of employee accidents or things like that. So that's reflected on the premium. So
This is an odd question, but if somebody was to get an injury at home under, while working, would that be in any way a possible claim?
it would have to, I don't want to say no, but it would have to be, researched because obviously of the circumstances, every claim has to be individually assessed.
Right.
I would find it difficult that it would be approved because it did not happen in our buildings,
Okay, very good.
even though
Thank you.
they're teaching. So, yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. And that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the flexible benefit plan accounts and deposits for fiscal years 2020 and 2021 and 2021 through 2022?
Second.
So every year we have our open enrollment in which our employees choose the medical and health benefits that they want. Flexible spending account, and which includes funds they can use out of their paycheck pre-tax for medical expenses or dependent care expenses is one of those benefits. Every year after the open enrollment period closes, which closed last week, we calculate the amount needed based on the employees that chose to have this benefit. For next year, it's a total of $106,364. So we cut a check and deposit it in the bank account that gets debited by those claims as the year goes by. In addition to that, we have a second deposit, which is a lot smaller. It's it's $10,050, and it's just to account for those employees that came in this year after our open enrollment last year and chose this benefit. They came in during the year or right after, they were hired right after open enrollment. So that's about another $10,000. These numbers are very consistent with our prior years, almost the same numbers, which indicates the same number of participants are choosing this benefit.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 And that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.11, a 5-year copier lease?
So moved.
Second.
So Mr. Schaefer will be close by in case there's any technical questions that I cannot answer. But basically, in February of 2016, the board approved a 5-year lease for all of our copiers across the district. That lease obviously has expired, and we are recommending that a new lease be approved starting July of this coming school year. Mr. Schaefer put together a request for a proposal, and it was issued on March 21st. The highlights of the proposal is basically to replace our 24 units under a 5-year lease. Monthly cost of the lease should include equipment maintenance, consumable supplies, which basically mean toner and staples, and then the fleet of copiers that we would choose from the winning bidder would integrate with our paper cut software that we currently use. The evaluation criteria that we used was the cost of the solution, and it's actually in this order, the experience and capabilities of the vendor, and then responsiveness, meaning the ability to respond to the bid at the moment of bid submission. We sent the bids. We invited 3 companies. 2 responded, and we are recommending Image Tech as the winning bidder. The agreement that it basically says that they will replace our 24 units with 26, so we're actually adding a couple of units based on need. The monthly amount of the lease is $1,942, which is basically a 67% reduction over the lease that just expired. I will caveat this by saying the current lease that just expired included a minimum amount of copies we could make, and we wouldn't have to pay any money, so we would pay for anything extra. This agreement doesn't have that because based on our copy usage experience, we think we can actually even save money even by paying for every single copy that we make. So this is a good deal for us. In addition to that, the 26 units includes some inexpensive color options for all the schools, so they'll be able to make color copies. And they can't do that today. They only have black and white. So we were able to increase the capabilities that our schools will have. Basically, the installation will start mid-June and would hopefully finish mid-July. Any questions?
All right, thank you, Mr. Camps. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes,
Yes.
and that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.12, new rental procedures and fees for the 2021-2022 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Berry? Mr. Berry?
I thought I covered this in my report, but if there's any questions anyone might have come up with in the last 45 minutes, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, any questions from the board? All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
and that motion passes. May I have a motion to approve item 6.13, site bid work for Mark Twain, Nelson, and Washington schools?
So moved.
Second.
Again, any questions?
Any questions on what was previously reported? Okay. Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And that motion passes. All right, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Berry. Okay, we have a need to go into closed session for a second time. We do not anticipate any further business, and we invite everybody to join us at our next school board meeting, which will be on, it's the second Thursday now, right? Because so July 8th here at the Galaxy Theater. Oh, we're going to go back to ESC? Okay, back to ESC, okay. And may I have a motion then to go into closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. And that motion passes. We are going into closed session.